If you've been following this channel for a while, you'll recognise the car that's parked behind me. That is a 2008 Aixam Mega City Electric. And if you're new, if you've been following since I started uploading a lot more EV content, you might not be aware of it. So quite a while ago, probably almost a year ago now, I bought this car for £400, so probably the world's cheapest electric vehicle at the time. It was a bit of an abandoned project from a previous owner who had just grown sick and tired of it. They described it as the world's worst electric car. Well, they actually described it as the world's shittest electric car because they were thoroughly at the end of their tether with it. It's quite a simple thing. It hails from 2008, so very early days of EVs, you know, competing with the G-Wiz and stuff like that, and very similar to a G-Wiz in construction, actually. We've got 12 lead-acid batteries connected in a series parallel arrangement, giving us a 48-volt battery pack. Top speed, 30 to 40 mile an hour, if you're brave enough. And the range, apparently 37 miles is the manufacturer quoted range, but I'm not sure about that one. I haven't had the chance to test it yet, but basically this came to me as an abandoned project. It wasn't working properly, the battery wasn't charging, and the guy had given up on it. And it's been sitting in the corner of my unit in bits for quite a while. If you saw some of the previous videos, you'll know that I took it to bits and was trying to diagnose the issues with it, and then it sort of stalled for a bit. But let's take a look at it now that it's all back in one piece, shall we? So here we are, the beautiful, very plasticky Aixam Mega City Electric. You'll notice that I have definitely improved the vehicle by adding lovely green number plates so I can show off to the world my amazing electric vehicle. Yeah, you might know I'm not the biggest fan of the green plates, so I thought it was quite apt to put them on something quite as terrible as this. And I mean, it looks reasonably okay. It's very close to that door. I can't show you around the back, but looks reasonably okay, reasonably up together. Of course, that's until you look a bit closer and realise that we've got panel gaps that rival Tesla, and that this front bumper is actually just held on with several cable ties. But, I mean, it's secure enough. It's not going to come off anytime soon. So when I say it's fully back together, that would be a bit of a lie. Reassembly is still very much in progress. I think the single wiper blade's seen better days and needs replacing too. So inside, very similar story. Everything's here, but it's not fully assembled. The dash is not particularly secure, and you'll see that the air vents aren't clipped in properly, but we've got most of a car. The hazard switch works, you know. The essentials are here and they work, but we've got a bit to go, I think. And you'll note there's a battery lying here. That's the right size, tiny little 12-volt auxiliary battery for the 12-volt electrics. And we're currently rocking a rather massive wrong size battery stuck in the passenger footwell, so we'll need to do something about that, but it's definitely a work in progress. So as I said, the charging circuit was faulty, and it would cut out because it was overheating. Basically, the fans in the onboard charger in the car weren't working, so it would cut out after a certain amount of time. So I had that off, had it refurbished. We had a little bit of a mishap. It came back, I plugged it in, and it immediately let the smoke out, and obviously it then stopped working. I think there was something that shorted out during transit, so that wasn't ideal, but it came back a second time and everything seems good now, so I'm going to plug it in and demonstrate that the charging is working correctly. Those of you that have an aversion to charging things using a 3-pin plug might not like this, so basically the charging lead is just a 3-pin to 16 amp C-form plug. You plug it in, turn it on, and it starts charging. So you'll immediately hear the fans spooling up. Now, because the fans were a weak point in this, the chap that's refurbished the charger has actually hooked them up so that they'll run all the time when it's charging. Means that the chances of it getting too hot and causing problems again are smaller. They're not zero, but they're smaller, so I think that's a decent fix. The previous owner of this was trying to rig up an alternative charger. It's actually, you can see it's in the back there alongside the fake grass, and that didn't seem to work, so I think I decided to go back to the OE Aixam Electronics. I think that gives us the best chance of it working. So as you can see, it's charging. We've got the charging indicator flashing here, but one problem that remains is that this battery indicator never increments, so it always says that the battery is nearly empty. Now, I've verified by checking the voltages that the charger runs at the right voltage and that the battery voltage does increase, so the batteries are charging and it's in a range which is acceptable. So the charger's working, the batteries are okay, the batteries are healthy, they're reasonably well balanced, but for some reason this display on the dash isn't working. Now, there have been various iterations of people trying to make this thing run properly and work better. Various bodges have happened, and I'm assuming that there's something in the factory wiring that isn't quite how it should be. So I'm going to have to diagnose that, but in the meantime, it is a running, driving car. We just don't have a useful indication of available battery capacity. So then, when it comes to the driving, you turn the key, it gauges the contactor, and I can then select reverse, and you will see that it moves. Don't know why it wasn't working the first time, but there we are. So it runs. You can see the lovely 1982 Fiat Panda 30 in the background there. I promise I will try to bring you some updates on that shortly, but like many things, progress has been quite few and far between on that one. Got a lot on, and I don't exactly make life easy for myself. So as you can see, and I won't be able to film much more, I'm just on the roads, the private roads at the industrial estate. I'm still using a handheld camera, which isn't ideal. There's nobody here. We have a running, driving electric car. Now obviously it doesn't have an MOT at the moment, so I'm not able to take it for a proper road test on the public road, because that would be very naughty. But what I think we can safely say is that is a decent amount of progress, and that it sounds like it's in pain. Don't know what this eco light is that flashes on the dash when I go above a certain speed, but I mean, it's certainly working. Not brave enough for that speed bump. But hopefully I'll be able to bring you back to a proper road test in due course. So in the short term, to address the instrument problem, I've got a little battery meter here from Amazon that says it'll work on 12 to 72 volt systems. So you can just configure it for whatever type of battery you want to monitor, and it'll give you a sort of capacity readout as well as a voltage readout. So I'm going to wire that into the terminals on the motor controller, and that should give me an idea of the battery capacity in lieu of the gauge not working properly. But obviously I think the long term I'll definitely need to fix the gauge, because having the instruments properly working would definitely be better than some dodgy thing that I've sellotaped onto the dashboard. But I think that is definitely the short term plan, to have a bit more clarity on what's going on with the battery. Well, that's it for this video. Just a quick progress update on the Aixam Mega City Electric. I think the end is hopefully in sight. I think we've definitely made a lot of progress from when it was a pile of bits on the floor. Fingers crossed I can iron out some of the little bumps and obviously finish some of the reassembly tasks, and have an update for you very soon on its progress. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.